There's one real estate agent that was around before I got started in real estate. And, he talked about how he made 300 calls a day for 365 years. I wasn't like that. I went out, I knocked on one door. I sort of got my foot in the door. Then she kicked me out of the door. I went home, drank a bottle of wine, and sat in my closet for a little bit as I recovered.
We are back, Hans. We are back. Did you ever think after the first episode that we'd already come back?
Yeah, after actually I saw your guys' cuts and looked at it, it's actually the first thing I could ever watch through. I've never actually watched through my own stuff. I don't really feel too comfortable watching my own stuff, but this was the first time I actually felt, well, it's not too bad. I actually showed a few different people. Everyone seemed to really like it. So I'm a little bit excited, or pretty excited to see what's next. That's really what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I was going to say, I showed a couple, full disclosure, I showed a couple people as well. And especially that first reel.
At a young age that I had an extremely high work ethic, and work ethic means is that I would just put in as many hours as I possibly could in a day. I would take all my part-timer shifts from when I was a teenager working at McDonald's. I would take the night crew shift. It was insane. I take the part-time shift, and I always did that. I didn't do that because I was expecting anything back. I did it because I wanted the experience. I just wanted more time, more experience, more, and I did want the money as well. And yeah, if you focus on just the money, it will definitely burn you out. But for me, the ability to work a 16-hour day, 7 days a week is not one most people have.
I showed that reel to, I'm like, Cassie, literally we were on the porch yesterday. I'm like, you gotta check this out. And I showed it to her and she was like, it was just 59 seconds, right? And she sat there because we were actually talking about the same thing. So I was talking about, I watched a documentary about this famous YouTuber. His name's Jimmy or Mr. Beast. And he was actually on YouTube for 6 years before he found any sort of success. So for 6 years, he was like, video after video after video after video with no views, no return. And right now the guy's making $40 million a year.
59 I saw.
And yeah, and then I saw
2021.
Okay, there you go. He's making even more.
Yeah,
exactly.
He's the number one YouTuber right now, right?
Yeah, I think he's either one of the or the highest paid. And then we were talking about that and we're like, what it means to not quit. Like imagine he gave up on year 5 or year 4 or year 3, right? And then I'm like, wait, I need you to watch this reel because I haven't showed her yet. And then she looks at it. And then after the 59 seconds, she's like, Chip, I'm telling you right now, like this needs to be online on every platform right away. She's like, have you guys uploaded yet? Why haven't you uploaded it yet? Upload it right now. And it was so funny because I'm like, that is amazing feedback to see, first of all. Yeah, it makes me really excited. Like I thought it turned out so good. Like I'm so happy with, and that's just like one reel from that one test pilot that we did.
Yeah, and it's sort of what I was talking to you about. Like I'm sitting there and I say a lot of stuff. You've been filming my stuff and listening to my stuff for the last 8 decades. Let's say almost a decade now. And so I realized just recently, just like if anyone's been around my stuff more than anybody else, it's you. Like you've seen all the video shoots from Cineplex to the shows to the to the trainings to the small groups when we were just a small team to where we are now to where we're a massive team of 100 and to where we've settled into a nice feel right now. And a lot of the stuff I say, like it's usually in the moment to a live audience. It's not something that I do out in the public too much, is because I really start to feel like if I were to put it on public, it's the thought process that I'm going to have is this too far out there, right? And then am I saying stuff that is going to connect with people, or are they going to be looking at me like, is this guy from a different universe type of thing? This is always the personal fear that you can have in any kind of situation that anyone's going to have. And I have it just like, I'm a normal person. I'm not one of these supermen. I'm not one of these guys that just powers through everything. I do what everyone else does, but what I do is I come up with thought processes that I install in my own head that makes me feel comfortable to move forward. And that's one of the little techniques that we all got to learn for ourselves, because, you have one guy, there's one real estate agent that was around before I got started in real estate. And, he talked about how he made 300 calls a day for 365 years. I wasn't like that. I went out, I knocked on one door. I sort of got my foot in the door. Then she kicked me out of the door. I went home, drank a bottle of of wine and I sat in my closet for a little bit as I recovered. So, I'm not built, I'm built like an average human being. And the only difference between me is that, I figured out ways to keep going and figure out ways to improve and realize you got to do it in little steps. And one of the things that a lot of people try to do is they go all out. Oh, we got to go all out. We got to go all out. And I think that's the wrong thing to do. It's like going to the gym. You go all out in the gym on your first day or week, and you're going to get knocked out of the gym because you're just going to be in so much pain. Your brain is going to tell you, hey, there's no freaking way we're going back to that. Why would I do something like that? Because it just hurts too much. And the real way to do it is start light. And if you study professional boxing, the trainers of guys who are coming up that are supposed to be really good, they put them up against guys that they know they can beat. And they do this for a purpose. And it's just to build their confidence level. And if you can slowly build your confidence level one step at a time without overwhelming yourself, it is exciting to try something new, but you need to pace yourself. You need to make sure that whatever you're doing to get started, you're going to succeed at. Because if you get out of the gate and you go all out and you don't succeed, which is going to be a high percentage chance, you're definitely not going to succeed at the dream level that you're thinking of right off the bat. You're going to quit, or you're just going to walk out the door. And that's the thing that you don't want to happen. And that's what happens to way too many people. So many people would have an enormously successful careers and are brilliant people. They just don't know how to get over that initial speed bump that's right out the door, because they use that excitement, they power themselves out there, they overwork themselves, and then they've never worked at that level and that pace before, and the excitement dies down, and then all of a sudden the energy level goes, and they're out to sleep, they're knocked out. And those are some of the things that I really like to bring up as a more of a slower pace to get started. It comes down to my philosophy when I'm training. I have a philosophy. I learned, I went to an interview. This was the first time it sort of clicked in, and I sort of stick with it. So I go to this interview. I wasn't doing too well doing the sales. I was like, I wasn't doing too bad, but I wasn't doing super well. And my brother goes, oh, you got to get into the window industry. You got to get into the window industry. And window industry, as you know, is a huge industry. So is anything related to real estate and building. And so he sets me up with the hiring manager at his massive company. It's $1 billion company. And he sets me up, and I go into this interview and I hear everything she says. And you know what? Something clicked in my head. And I go to her, I've been the rabbit too long. I want to be the turtle. I'm going to be the turtle. I'm done being the rabbit. And I sort of explained to her the concept behind it. And my brother calls me up the next day and he goes, did you tell my manager you want to be a turtle? And it was
you clearly don't want the job.
Yeah, I didn't want the job. It's not that I didn't want the job. It's not, I wanted to stick with what I was doing. I didn't want to be the rabbit who's bouncing all over the place from one side of the street to the other side. How long does a rabbit live? A rabbit ends up living for approximately 2 years? That's their average lifespan. Turtle, 150. Another one I throw out there, a rabbit usually is done when they're in bed. They're usually done having sex within 30 seconds. A turtle, actually, I studied it just for fun. There's 12-hour to 24-hour process.
Oh my God.
Who would you rather be, the rabbit or the turtle, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
And so I was just doing it because I had this whole concept. And a turtle, at the end of the day, once they get into the zone, they're traveling across the ocean. They're traveling from one side of the earth to the other side of the earth. And they seem like the slowest animal on the earth. They're not. They're just focused and going into one direction. If something happens, they go into a shell, then they come out of their shell and they keep going to the right direction until they get to where they want to go. And that's the thought process that I prefer to have. I don't want to be this rabbit. I don't want to turn into rabbit soup. I don't want to be a fur on somebody's head. I don't want my career to end in 2 years like 90% of people who are self-employed get started and their career's over in 2 years because they just go full out and then they just crash. And that's a given stat. That's a stat from the Bank of Canada or any economic stat out there. And I think after 5 years, it's beyond 90%. After 10 years, it's 95%. And so, I'm 18 years now in business, so it's really a phenomenal number to achieve. I remember when I broke the 2-year mark and they go to me, wow, so you made it through the 2-year mark, because, in real estate, it's not the easiest thing to do. It's one of the most competitive businesses. If you look at the bus benches, all the advertisements, anybody who talks to you, they're all in real estate some way, somehow. So I was a little bit proud of that. And, to make it to a $10 million company and over that span and grow to that kind of revenue stream was, beyond my own expectation. So so if you want a little thought process, when things are getting too crazy, wild, when you're getting overwhelmed, just become the turtle. Just relax, chill out.
Wow.
Just go in the zone, go into your shell.
I can definitely
and be a little bit more slower paced, because going too fast paced is really what's going to knock you out of what you were truly meant to do. So it's just a thought process that I like to pass along to my team members when I think they're getting a little too overwhelmed.
Yeah, I can really relate to that, to be honest, because sometimes I do get very excited about something or a project or anything, and just like the gym concept, or I have like I bought a little home gym. First day, you go all out, like max out every weight, everything. Then you're not moving for a week, right? And then suddenly you stop using it because you didn't build that consistency, you didn't build that habit, right? And I remember you also mentioning, at the beginning with, you had obviously a career in stocks as well,
Yeah.
and then when you found real estate, I feel like that's when you almost built out this turtle concept, which I think is actually really, really important to note, because everybody feels like, especially now with social media, you look at everyone else and you think they're all doing better than you. You think it's a rabbit race. They really make it seem like it's a rabbit race, or everyone's like, who's gonna be the first millionaire? Who's that? Look at this guy. He's only 22 and making 2 million. A lot of it is fake, obviously.
But what are
But
these guys?
it sets this mentality.
Yeah, sorry, Jeff. What are these guys really doing? They're jumping from one fad to another.
Yeah.
They're jumping from
yeah,
one thing to
yeah.
another thing to another thing to another thing, and before they know it, they're 30, they're 40, they're 50, they're 60, they're dead, right?
Yeah.
And before they know it, they
Yeah.
didn't become an expert, a specialist, a perfectionist, a true genius in the art that they were meant to do. They keep jumping from one thing to another thing, and this is, watch the whole world. That's what they're doing. It's really odd to watch, and it's just a bunch of rabbits out there jumping from one thing to the next thing to whatever the latest fad is.
It's true.
If you can get out of that, wave or whatever it is, you're definitely gonna have a lot more success at whatever you're doing.